Hey, it's Heidi Dawson, and this is Wednesday Wisdom, where I interview wildly successful people from across the world, where we get an inside view into what their daily life looks like. Success leaves clues, and on Wednesdays, we're finding them. Join me now for the latest wildly successful interview. Hi, guys. Welcome to episode 128 of the Wildly Successful Lifestyle Podcast. So my guest today is David Schad, and he is a fabulous lighting designer from Utah. Now, he's really an artist, and he creates beautiful art with the use of light. If you're in a project or you're considering a project where you need a lighting plan, you do not want to miss this episode because he gives us some insight. He also talks about the infamous LED lights and which ones are the best ones to use. So let me introduce you to David Schad.
Hi, David. It's really nice to meet you. I've been looking at your website and fascinated by your lighting projects. So thank you for coming on my podcast today. How are you?
Doing well, Heidi. I'm honored to be a part of your podcast.
Well, good. Thank you. So tell us, our listeners and me, a little bit about you and your passion for lighting. I know that is a passion because I can see it coming through your projects.
Well, I started many years ago in an electrical engineering firm as a draftsman. And I had some great mentors that taught me electrical engineering. And part of electrical engineering and design for residential homes and projects like that has to do with electrical and lighting. As the years went by, I grew more and more drawn to the lighting side. I'm an artist. I grew up most of my life, painting and drawing. And I figured out lighting was a way I could illuminate and I could paint with light to bring out the architecture and make it look good. I started the electrical side anymore. I want to become a lighting designer.
Yeah.
That was a strong desire in my heart. And then one of my clients said, why don't you start a lighting design? So I did.
I love it.
Yeah, and then the change of lighting and technology down through the past 10, 15 years is just so exciting for me to have more tools to be able to paint with illumination, do some wall washing, brazing, uplighting, dimming, and the LEDs are just so much fun.
I totally agree. Like I told you before we started recording that I'm in the middle of a renovation and we have uplights that are going in the floor. And the original part of the project was we were going to be on a conventional and they had to do a slab. And so that turned into a huge nightmare because now we're putting floor recess cans in concrete. Woof. That has been, hopefully they're worth it. Let me just say that.
That's one of my favorite techniques to do is uplighting recessing floors. So yes, you're on the right track.
Okay, good. That makes me feel good then. I have hope. I'll let my contractor know because he's ready to, I think, just pour over them. Okay, so you kind of talked a little bit about your passion and how your journey sort of took that path, which I love because my path to design and then into a podcast kind of took that same thing. You just sort of follow that calling, and the thing that is the strongest and that you're kind of the best at is where you usually, if you follow that calling, you end up. So I have a question that I always wonder because I do it with interior design. So what makes you recognize that someone knew what they were doing as far as lighting goes when you walk into a space? Can you recognize it fairly quickly?
That's a great question. It's easier to recognize someone who didn't know what they're doing, but to answer your question accurately, when I walk into a space, there's a feeling of comfort, feeling of maybe being relaxed and warmth, and just an attraction to the room, whether it's to the architecture or to the interior design or maybe each of the ceilings that vault up. And because the lighting was done properly, it doesn't feel like a cave. So there's a lot of warmth when you walk into a room and it's done correctly. Maybe you don't even notice the lighting. That's one thing that I like is coming. Well, this room is really great, and it just feels so good. But they don't say, "Oh, the lighting was amazing."
Right.
So, I think when I do it right, it just blends in, becomes part of the architecture.
Got it. I love that idea because it's very true. If you notice the lighting, it's either over the top good or really bad. And, so I think I've seen some of your projects on your website that are over the top good. So obviously people recognize it for the lighting, but appreciate it because it doesn't feel ostentatious. It feels warm and welcoming. Some of your exterior where you lit the home beautifully from the exterior. I love that idea of just standing in the street or pulling up to a home that is well lit. I don't know, there's something about that. So
Thank you.
you're welcome. So do you have any pet peeves about lighting?
Oh, how much time do you have? I'll hit just a few. One of my biggest pet peeves is lighting is contractors. It'll come in and destroy your lighting design, telling the owners that they're going to save them all this money by buying different fixtures, and then those fixtures are just really junk.
Yeah.
And the owner calls me back and says, I hired you to do this lighting design, and it's horrible. I said, well, that's not the lighting fixtures I specified. Really? Well, I saved all this money. I said, well, you get when you don't do the right thing. The other thing is glare. I really don't like glare. I try to shield all lighting as much as possible. And again, the other thing is non-lighting designers coming in and trying to tell me or the interior designer, the owner, how it should be done. So that's, I guess those are just a couple of my pet peeves. But most of the time, I'm very good clients and good architects, and
You don't have that problem with those, with some, the ones you're going to have probably no problem with.
Yeah.
Okay. So glare, I'm doing I'm doing lights on marble. We've got floating shelves and we've got a wall that's going to be marble. And I've seen a lot of lights that glare off the marble, interestingly, but I'm honing the marble. So I think that'll help a lot. So I agree with you though. Glare is a big pet peeve.
Yes, good.
Okay, now I also am a big fan not only of design and lighting but mindset. And so something that jumped out when I was researching lighting designers was your philosophy page. And so you kind of talked about I'm an artist, a lighting designer who paints with illumination. So I loved that, and I think that is when someone is really good, is when they just feel so passionate about it. So what are the most important aspects? I know this is a hard question to narrow down, but in your opinion, what would be the most important aspects of a lighting design?
When I get a new project, the thing I do first and foremost is try and get into the head of the architect. I want to see what that architect sees, as well as the interior designer, what the interior designer sees in the space. So at that point, I can take and provide the best lighting I possibly can for that space that will complement everything they're doing. And that's not with decorative fixtures. I like the interior designers to pick out all decorative fixtures because they know the heart and soul of the client, the owner. And I don't, but I have the experience that I can look at a space and improve it, complement the architecture, complement the interior with different layers of lighting. So I'm not sure if that quite answers your question, right? But
No, it does, because I as a an interior designer, I get it. You really, when you walk into a space, you're talking about the accent lighting that like the recessed cans or the backlights, or there's all sorts of different things that that you can do with lighting, and the pendants and things like that are just like jewelry, for a design.
That's
So
exactly how I describe it. It's like
yeah,
jewelry on a beautiful woman. The woman's already beautiful, just compliments.
that's right. It just makes it just a little bit better. Okay, so I also love your point about using a lighting designer, even if you're working with an interior designer or architect, because I know from experience that lighting isn't my main focus. I kind of would love for it to be, but I want everything. I like the whole design. So lighting being such a huge part of the space, if you can hire someone like you, it really is ideal, because that's your main focus. I've seen where designers, they get involved and they do fine and the place looks great, but you can tell that the lighting was an afterthought, or maybe even they let the contractor or the electrician decide where the lights were going to go, and not that they always do horrific, but it isn't a well thought out plan. So, yeah, you just said that you have architects and designers that you work with pretty regularly. So that makes it a little bit easier, right?
Oh yes, I only work with clients, some amazing architects and interior designers. I don't market for work.
Yeah.
It's all referral, and my architects keep calling me, and designers keep bringing me in. So it's kind of it's wonderful to have a good team effort when everybody gets along with everybody, and it just turns into, as you see, fabulous projects.
Right. It's magical when you
Yeah,
get uh talented, passionate people and they each have their own specialty, it becomes magical. For me, with the project that I'm working on right now, I had the vision, and but I couldn't do it alone. So I mean, I listen to the input of the people that are working on my team that are like, well, we would do it this way. And a lot of times I'll go with that if if it's a valid reason. Now, if I have a definite, opinion on something and I want it to go a different direction, then I'll do that and work with them to, so we can make it where I'm like, okay, you're comfortable with this, because the professionals like yourself, what the ultimate end product is going to look like. So that's good. Okay, so now you said you left a senior position with a design group, like an engineering firm, to start your own lighting firm. And you talk about pursuing the 3 pillars of a great and fulfilling life on your website. I loved that. Can you talk a little bit about that jump? I mean, was that scary?
um, it was a little scary at first, but I had some good architectural friends at that time while I was working for the engineering firm, that talked to me and said, they kind of said, David, you ought to start your own firm. We'll use you. We respect you already. I said, I don't know, it's a little scary, but and the one architect said, when I went out on my own, it was the scariest thing I've ever done. But it was once it started and I turned it over and got it working, it's the best thing I've ever done. And that's exactly what I experienced. And I got over the fear of losing that, 40, 60 hour a week paycheck every week, and had to go out and find clients myself. That was scary, but boy, when your clients are telling you, hey, I'll hire you, it's like, yeah,
Okay.
never look back.
Yeah. That's incredible. I think a lot of people, as long as they're really good and really passionate, they want to work for themselves. Some people, I'm an entrepreneur at heart. Not everybody is, but when someone has the passion, has the expertise, and they're willing to step past the fear, I think that's when it gets when things become magical in their life, is because fear holds so many people back, and you didn't let it hold you back, which I think is, it's a testament to what you're doing now, is that you allowed yourself to be afraid, but then move past it. So I think that's wonderful. So
The passion, the passion, as long as you have passion for what you're doing, I think there's nothing can stop.
yes.
Yeah, and then I always pursue to do everything the best I possibly could, and sometimes even better than they expected. And that just, I don't know, that just drives me. I love starting a new project.
I know,
Because
it's so exciting.
juice is flowing. Oh, I love it. Love it.
I'm with you on that. I agree. And you just, because when you start a new project and you have the vision and the end of what it's going to look like. And so and you get to be creative, and you can do a good job, and it's going to be spectacular, and your client's going to feel good, as long as they do what you say and not, let the contractor pick out the lights, that kind of thing. So
I have a couple of clients, architects that I work for, that are just artists in their own saying. No house is the same, no room is the same, ceiling is the same. So it's just so much fun to get a new project with this particular architect that I work with. Oh, I love it.
so good. And it takes the pressure off of them having you come in and light it, because a good architect and a good designer, they know that a good lighting designer will make their design even better.
Yes.
Okay, so I have a basic question. All right. So if someone is listening and they're thinking about renovating, or they're working on a new home, because right now I think a lot of people are, with the market being the way it is, so many people are just working on redoing their home, or even trying to find a new home. So what is the most important thing that someone can do for their lighting plan? If they couldn't, say, afford to hire you as a lighting designer, what's the most important thing they could do for their lighting plan?
If they, I would, there are books out there available that do teach a little bit of lighting design. I don't recall those right off the top of my head. I guess the easiest thing I would recommend to do is, if there's a parade of homes in your area, go to walk through all the parade of homes and just note the things that you really like about lighting, as well as the things you don't like about lighting. And if the parade of homes is not around, maybe just go to some model homes that are out there for the type of home that you're looking to buy, because model homes are usually done up pretty nice, and that'll give you some ideas of what you may want to do for your house, or again, maybe give you some ideas of what not to do to your house. You go to these beautiful model homes, and maybe the lighting just doesn't look right. So you think, well, maybe I'd add a couple of recessed cans here and there, and then I'd put some uplight here or there. So there's a lot of photos of beautiful homes and home magazines and things like that. So there's a lot of resources to give you ideas. But I just, one of the things I say, quality is not expensive. To me, it's priceless. If you specify a good quality fixture, it's going to perform to you the way you want it to perform, versus something that's less expensive and you don't like the outcome of it. I get called into a lot of homes where people didn't hire a lighting designer, and they ask me, David, what can we do? And I go, wow, we can fix this. But now it's going to take a lot more money to do a lot of cutting and patching and things like that. So it might be advisable just to hire a lighting designer on an hourly basis to look at the plan that you have and make some recommendations instead of doing the complete design. That's another option.
That's a great idea. Is that something that you do, or?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
I have people that say we just can't afford a lighting designer.
Okay.
We're already under construction. Can you help us? Hey, I do this and this and this and this.
Wonderful. That's great. That's a great resource. And I think that's really valid and very, very good advice, because something that I do is when I go to restaurants or hotels, usually they've used a lighting designer, the higher end ones, and I'll just look at it and I'll say, what is it about this space that I love? And most of the time, I mean, we go to one restaurant here locally, and the design is kind of, the furnishings are dated, but the lighting is so good and so soft that it feels really good, and so I think for me, if I always tell people, lighting is where you need to spend a little bit of money, lighting and drapes. Rugs, lighting, and drapes. So really just everything, really. I'm jaded, but I've been in design for a while enough to be, but lighting is always the most important thing for a design. So I appreciate your trade.
I'm liking you more and more.
Okay. Yes. Well, it's true. I feel like, that something that most people don't really understand why a space feels good. A lot of times it's because of the lighting. So, all right. So then let's talk about LED lights. I fought them for a while. When I was going through interior design school, of course, they were always just like, everything has to be LED, and and they were not very pretty then, but now they've gotten a lot better. So I just think people don't know what to buy, because when I look and they're like, oh my, I've got all these new recess cans and they're all LEDs and they are as blue or green, and the space is just, it's killing me. So do you have a favorite lamp or light bulb that you love?
Yes, I do. That's a great question, but LED light bulbs are fantastic. They're a wonderful source, as we all know. But it's more about the color temperature of the lamp that I think is the most important. For a residential application, there's a 3,000 degree Kelvin. That's the color temperature of the lamp. It's a warm color. There's 2,700 degrees Kelvin lamp, which is even a little warmer, more like your older incandescent A lamps. I try and stay within those two color spectrums of lamps throughout an entire house. Stay away from the whiter white, bluer blue colors.
Yeah.
Be careful when you go out and buy light bulbs. Look at them labels closely so you don't get those really bright white ones. So keep it warm. I think that's the important thing with LEDs, and make sure they're dimmable.
Thank you. Thank you for saying that. Yes. Yes, yes, yes. I every light, I don't care if it's a bathroom light, I think should be on a dimmer, because when I have parties at night, I want to set the mood everywhere. Everywhere in my home, I want it to feel beautiful and soft. And if you don't have a dimmer, it's hard to get that look. So, okay, so 2,700 Kelvin to 3,000 Kelvin. I'm doing 2,700 in all of mine, because I love it and I love that warm light. The 3,000, and they actually tried to get me to go with 3,000 near my marble, but because it would whiten it, but I just wasn't prepared for that. I really like the warmth. So.
Well, let me add another thing. Along with the proper lighting design, you mentioned it, I failed to, is I think the next part of that that's so important is lighting control. If you have a dimmer, great, but I do very large residences where we have a lighting control system. We set up scenes that'll be, dinner time, party, entertain, or whatever you may have. You set a scene where everything's adjusted to the right level that you want. So lighting control is another thing I do that's very, very important.
Okay. So that lighting control, it kind of leads itself to, you'd have different lights on different switches. And so you could have your pendant lights on, and your, maybe your under cabinet lights, things like that, separately from your overhead lighting.
Yes. And
yeah.
So we call those layers of light.
Love it. Layers of light. Now, do you ever, when you come into a house and there's recess cans, right? I mean, most new construction, I think, have them. Do you cringe at those being on, or would you, I mean, do you like the lower layers to be on, or do you like, are you okay with the recess lights being on?
I am okay, provided they're the right recess light. I like to use very small aperture recess down lights with pinhole apertures in them.
Yes.
We'll paint those trims on those fixtures to match the ceiling, and even faux paint them out if they're wood. So I want the cans to disappear, and I just want the light to be visible on what it's illuminating. Because as I mentioned, I hate glare, so that's one way to do it. And I use the recessed lights, as I call it, as a layer light. It's a general layer of light, unless I'm using them to grace some stone or highlight some pictures or paintings or wall washing, different lighting techniques.
Absolutely.
Base on the center of the dining room table with a little pin spot on it. It's on its own, so the rest of the room gets dimmed down when it's not being used, and the little base or centerpiece just glow. You create a scene.
Love it.
Make your house just be a picture of beauty,
Yes. I love it. I love it. Talking to you, I probably would have gotten you as a consultant prior to our renovation, but it's too late now. It's all in. But I feel like I've done well because I'm using the spotlights with the pinholes, and I've got the 2700, and I carefully picked my lighting plan as far as the switching the controls. So I think you'd be proud. I'll send you pictures and let you see.
Awesome.
We have a little bit of time before it's done, but okay. So you are obviously in love with what you do. There's zero doubt of that. How do you find balance between work, play, and downtime play? Because you call your work play, according to your website, and I can see that it is. So how do you kind of find a balance between those two?
That's a really good question to ask, because I struggle with that a lot in my earlier part of my career, to where one of my partners in the engineering firm actually came to me and said, David, you need to slow down.
Wow.
He gave me a statement that I remember to this day. He said, if this project doesn't get done today, is anybody going to die?
Yeah.
And I said, no. He said, go home. You've been at this for 12 hours straight, go home. And I learned after that you got to draw, how much you love what you're doing, you've got to go and you've got to go out and go play golf sometime, or just go walk in the woods or the mountains, just feel the sun, the air. So I've learned that. It was a hard lesson for me to learn. Now I don't take on more than I want to. So
good.
I just pick and choose the projects I want and turn others away that I don't want.
That is
golfing,
so nice.
Fly fishing, and we have our pets that we enjoy, and go skiing once in a while. So yeah, I'm learning to enjoy life outside of my job.
Well, and that's good though, because I think that makes you a better designer, a lighting design. I mean, I think that actually, when you take your downtime, sometimes people think the harder they work and the more effort they put in, the more prestige, or it's almost like a race to see who can work the most, but you're just really just burning out. Where when you take downtime, like you said, because you're in Montana, right?
In Utah.
Okay, I knew it was somewhere beautiful. So when you take that time, and I know for myself, it rejuvenates me. So I do the same. I try to make sure that my husband and I both are big believers in taking downtime. So we're with you on that too.
A simple sunset or a sunrise is just so inspiring to me, to see the sun and the shadows and how lighting just changes in 15, 20 minutes, and skies and the colors. I mean, to me, that's real inspirational.
Yes.
See what God does. He's the best lighting designer I know.
Absolutely. 100%. Yes. When you go outside and if it's just dusk or even at night, like your background with the stars and at night, sometimes I grew up in the country and we would go out and lay in the grass and just stare at the stars because we were really in the country. So the stars were lights to us. It was fantastic. So I love that. And okay, well, this has been really interesting. I really could talk to you a lot more because I'm passionate about lighting design, but I think we've got some good things and some good tips for people listening. And also just a little bit, we've got the LED color. I know a lot of people struggle with which bulbs because we're kind of being forced to switch to LEDs, which is fine because they're getting good. So everybody can relax and realize that I know that your bulbs are going away that you like, but they actually are really good, the new LEDs. So thank you so much. It's been wonderful talking to you. I appreciate it. I loved that I got to hear your little parrots in the background. We talked about that. They're so pleasant.
Thank you.
You're welcome, David. Thank you again. And I will, when I get my lighting design finished and I get some lights, I'll send it over to you.
Happy to see it.
Okay. All right, David. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Let me leave you with one little quote that I use a lot. It's by Albert Einstein. It says, imagination is more important than knowledge. Because you can have all kinds of lighting knowledge in your head, but without the artistic application and ability, it just doesn't turn out right.
I love it.
Yeah, okay.
There goes there is your artist side coming out. That's why, it's interesting. And then I'll let you go again. You were electrical engineer, but you're quite the artist too. So you probably have some left brain, right brain going on quite a bit. That's what I think that is what makes you so good, is that you're able to understand the lighting technology, but you also are able to create artistry. So go David.
It's the balance you need.
That's right. It really is. Sometimes I wish I had a little bit more of that technology because I tend to be like quite creative, but we're getting that. It's totally fine. That's what makes the world go round.
You bet. Awesome.
All right, David, thank you for that. And I look forward and hope that we get to talk again soon.
Okay. Me too. Thank you so much.
Have a great day.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Don't forget to subscribe and share with your friends because we're just going to keep going bigger and better places together. And I love that about us. Talk to you in a few days.